Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Virginia at Work podcast with me, Linda McNutt Foster with Cortex Leadership Consulting, the guru of executive training. And, of course, Betsy Head with Home Instead Senior Care. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Owner, I should also add, which means you do a little bit of everything.
As most owners do, yes.
And the topic, perfectly done today, is talking about rich habits of successful people. And I'm just going to chalk you up as successful since you're owning a business with hundreds of people. What did you do? How did you get there? Give us your man on top of the mountain wisdom.
It was a long journey. We've owned our Home Instead franchise for 15 years.
Okay.
A little better. My husband and I both own the business, and we both work in the business. I started the business 15 years ago because he still was working for one of those big Fortune 50 companies at the time. And in going through learning how to own a business, which I had no experience with, I learned that the first thing you have to do is set really solid goals and create a roadmap. And my husband's great at business planning. He really had the skill in that. So he wrote a business plan to carry us through the first 5 years of the business. We achieved it in the first 2. Because that's, hard work and determination. And always going back to what that roadmap was and making sure we were staying on the roadmap. The company that we bought a franchise of gave us a really great game plan and helped us when we struggled. There were places that I went where I would say, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do, and the business is not growing, and we're not getting clients, and how can I find better caregivers? And they always had advice and wisdom because we bought into a system instead of trying to create it on our own. But at the end of the day, it was all about personal discipline. It was all about setting goals and following the goals, reviewing what our achievements had been, and resetting goals to stay in line with where we wanted to be, and celebrating our successes. And finally, building a great team around us. Because when we started out, I was literally the only employee in the company. And I had to hire all the caregivers. I had to train all the caregivers. I had to market the company. I had to go out and sign up new clients. I had to take caregivers out and introduce them. I had to do discipline when caregivers didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I had to, he always did the invoices to our clients and the payroll for our caregivers. And that was how he helped me with that early on. And then he encouraged me. So I had an encourager back there saying, you can do this, you can do this. And 2 years in, we hired him away from his Fortune 50 company and brought him on board to be a full part of the team. And now we have about 21 administrative staff between our Roanoke office and our Lynchburg office. And then we employ about 300 caregivers.
So, Linda, take what Betsy just said and expand that to people who maybe aren't in senior care but still want to have those rich habits and become successful in whatever field they're in.
You know, one of the most interesting books out there right now is from Carol Dweck, and it's called Mindset. And it's the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. And people like Betsy, successful people, every leader that's tremendously successful that I coach has a growth mindset, which means I'm going to try something. I'm going to create an outcome. I'm going to try something. And I know that my only goal is to get better. It's not to be perfect, but today I'm going to get a little bit better. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to learn what I need to know to get a little bit better tomorrow and a little bit better the next day. You know, it's not, I'm going to try, I don't have a talent for that. I'm not very good at that. It's like, no, they understand that even Mozart practiced. You know, I just watched the movie about Bobby Fischer as an adult. He lived chess. You go to any great leader, any successful person, and the first thing they will tell you is, I work really hard. I work really hard. I love the idea of a 4-hour work week, but the owners, leaders I know, are all about sometimes 50 and 60-hour work weeks and sometimes 80 or 100 to get to that level of success. They always believed in themselves that they could be at one day.
Can you be successful and not work 80 hours a week?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I would say, but not at the beginning.
Okay.
Right.
I got
Okay,
you.
so
Right.
so you have to grow to the point that you don't have to work 80 hours a week, and then you have to discipline yourself to not work 80 hours a week.
Because you're so
Don't you
used to
think-
it.
No, it is. It's all about that, Becky. Isn't it, Betsy? It's about the fact that you've worked so hard. It is a habit. Working hard is a habit. And then you wake up one day and you say, you know what? I don't really have to work this hard anymore. I have a whole team. Why am I not delegating this? I have all these people who can help me, but you're so used to just waking up at 5 a.m. and work until you go to sleep that you then have to change your habits so that you don't burn out.
And I'm married to my business partner, so
So
you
am
know,
I know.
we'll wake up at 6 in the morning and start working on the business in bed, and work until this happened to us one morning last week, and all of a sudden it's 8:30, and we've been working for 2 hours with our laptops and our iPads and all that stuff, and now we're saying, oh my gosh, we're going to be late. We have to go. And my receptionist at the office texted and said, are you coming in for your 9 a.m. meeting? And it was 5 after 9, and I said, well, I was dressed and ready to walk out the door at that point, but I said, oh my gosh, I forgot completely because I'd been working for 2 hours. And so what we have to do now is intentionally take a free day
Oh, okay.
and say, we're not going to check email. We're not going to take calls from the office. We tell them we're taking a free day, and we try to take several of those in a row at various times during the quarter, and it recharges our batteries and then allows us to refocus and drive again.
Well, and that's the other thing. Honestly, all the successful people I know, we actually don't think we're working. It doesn't feel like work because it's so exciting because we're on this big long-term kind of outcome
Right.
producing, and we feel like we're connected to our team members and our clients, and we feel like what we're doing really matters. That's the difference. And when you wake up every single day and you feel like what you're doing really matters, that is not work. That is a mission.
Right. You don't feel like you're going to work. You don't feel like you're having a job. This is your life.
Oh,
and it brings you so much joy and satisfaction that and my work is making a difference in people's lives. That was what I always wanted to do, and that's what I get to do every single day with our clients, with our employees, with all of them. They are, for me, a big family, and I get to make a difference in their lives every day through the work I do and also through what I do in building a team and how I engage them.
All right, so let me back the bus up, like way up to the people who are listening and are like, okay, how do I get to that point? I'm here in my daily grind, clocking in, clocking out. I've got skills. I can be good. It seems like it's not tangible. I mean, where do you even begin?
I think the first thing people have to do is start with their long-term goal. Think about your long-term goal, about the vision that you would have for your life. If you removed all boundaries, if you said, I can learn whatever I need to learn to be successful, somebody out there knows how to make me successful at this, and you focus on that first, and then you start layering the how to get there. Start with the vision. Spend some time in an ideation space with smart, capable, successful people.
You got to find those people who are willing to take that time.
You do. And you know what? The more generous you are, the more you bring value to other people, the more generous they are to you. Right? If you're walking out there in appreciation and recognition of other people, there are so many mentors and successful people that would spend the time with you to help you be successful if you too were concerned about their success.
I would add to that, not just what is your long-range goal, but what do you love to do that you're really good at? What do you do that you can lose yourself in? Can you find a way to make a living doing that? You know, that's what Dick Clark said. Find something you love doing and then spend your time equipping yourself to do that to the best of your ability. You'll never go to work a day in your life, and you'll find a way to get what you need to out of it. I can't look at my children are college or beyond now. I've never said to one of them, figure out what you can do to make a lot of money and then go do that. That should be your major in college. What I've told them was, find something you really love doing.
Right.
And get a major in that in college, and then figure out how to use it or do something else to make a living, and you will love your life. And that's where rich success comes from. It's not feeling like you've got to go punch in at your job job, but like you're going to do something you really love with people you really enjoy spending time with, or by yourself if you're an introvert, but doing something you can immerse yourself in and lose yourself in and find meaning for yourself. And the other thing is, once you're at a certain point in your development, you've got weaknesses that you don't do well. Don't worry about getting better at those things. Find other people that can do those things.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
So I know we had discussed too when we had done this story for Virginia at Work, the Harvard Business Review, and it actually listed out 9 habits that rich, successful people, and again, when we say rich, just successful people, not necessarily making millions, do. Give us some ideas on what's amazing.
Well, I think one of the things that I think from the research of successful or rich people, however you want to define that, certainly the affluent too, 88% of them read something new every day. That's big. If I meet somebody and they go, I haven't read since college, and it's been, I just don't read that. I just think, how are you growing? How are you learning? And here's the thing, it feeds your ideation. When you are stuck, when I get with a client, it's usually because they can't think of a way out of their existing situation. When you read, it opens your mind to all these possibilities, right? It's not about, yes, motivational stuff is cool. And I think that's great. But the reason I'm sort of addicted to Harvard Business Review is because it's scientifically researched, right? So it's not just a me-ism that says, this is fantastic and wow, let's just get a suntan today. It's about, right? It's about, hey, they did this research on this team. They did this research on this. They did this study on this organization and this culture, and this is what they found. So read, but read things that are qualified, that help move you forward, that have some data and research behind them so that you can move forward in a way that worked for not just one person who's writing it or selling something to you, but a group of people that have been studied.
And Betsy, you said you have done this for 15 years. Talk about the time, those years that led up to that mark when you started this business. Did you have those, hey, let's really think about what I enjoy, what do I like to do? I mean, what was your visual?
What I did before we owned Homestead, I loved too.
Oh, yeah?
I did. I was a campus minister.
Oh,
so
cool.
I worked with college students and from a denominational perspective, and I did that for 12 years. And I loved that. So when I moved from that into senior care, there was for me some internal struggle. And there was a spiritual component that went into that. And where I embraced this was in realizing I had little kids. They needed me home nights and weekends. Campus ministry is nights and weekends. It just is. And I had small children at the time. And I realized this was another way that I could be ministerial in a different setting, even as a business owner. And I looked at this as a ministry opportunity. But I would say that I have grown in this business ownership, because I was an employee in that setting and now I'm a business owner and I have lots of employees. I have learned walking this journey to learn how to define those things that I'm uniquely good at and how to encourage the people around me to do that also. In fact, when I met Linda, the first time we met, she was working for another company in town, and she came into my company to do a presentation. And I said, oh my gosh, we spent 2.5, 3 hours together that afternoon. It was supposed to be a 1-hour meeting. And there was such synergy in what we were doing together that I said, you should be doing this all the time. Because I recognized in that a unique ability with her that it drew me to her. And people working in that special place in their lives draw people to them. But then it is really important, and Linda touched on this, to find those people around you and associate yourself with people that are successful in those kinds of areas and learn from them and collaborate together. And that gives you a platform from which to expand what you're doing and your knowledge in that area. It's such a rich place to be in your life.
Well, and I hang around with people all the time that intimidate me. Right? I'm like,
That's awesome.
like if you're not hanging around with people that scare you just a little bit, whether you're going, how can I hang out? If you want to be in shape, you need to hang around with some bodybuilders for a second.
Right.
Because you're going to learn really quick that you could work harder at that.
Right.
And you want to make more money, hang around people that make more money. And you'll see the decisions that they make. Because every day, you want to be successful, it's a choice that you make. It's the small choices you make.
Yep.
If you want to be healthy, it's the choice of whether you eat breakfast or not.
Right.
Whether it's I eat a spinach smoothie every morning. You think I like to drink a spinach smoothie every morning? No, I do not enjoy that every single morning. But you know what? I love to be able to fit in my dresses.
Right.
I love to be healthy and energetic when I go in every morning to coach or train a group of people. You've got to be able to create habits. And you have to see successful people, watch and study their habits so that you can see that this isn't some magic. There isn't some magic pill that these people are taking.
Right.
Right? Most of the people I know started from nothing, had nothing, and built these empires that they have now. And it's literally the choices they make on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. What do you see from all of the training that you do that people need to overcome? Is there like one big thing that people just can't, an obstacle that they keep bumping into?
They blame time.
Yes.
That's why I wrote the book. They act like time is their persecutor. I don't have enough time. If only I had more time. And I think the leaders of every country get 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. The people that sit on 10 boards have 700 employees. They get 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week. No. Mm-hmm. Design your time effectively because you're not going to be able to do the things that are super important to you. Like that are really important to you, that matter, those things that are not urgent, but really important. And you're just going to, successful people don't have time for drama.
Your voice just went about 10 octaves.
They do not have time for drama.
I feel
right?
It's true.
And us friends, we're really good friends, and we don't have time for drama. We have time to celebrate with one another. And if I have a problem, like a real, I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's 2 a.m, she'll pick up the phone. Sure,
Yeah.
right? But we're not just going to call her telling her I had a bad day. Why am I going to do that all over her? She's not going to do that to me. We're going to encourage
And
each
Linda
other.
has taught me to look at the problem and not have to tell the whole story to somebody else about, he said, she said, they said, we said. But to say, I have a problem with this, and to identify the problem and not to get emotionally caught up in it, but look at my options on what I can do to resolve the problem and what it's going to take from me and from other people, and then get buy-in from those people. And we very quickly resolve the problem and move on. And there's no emotional tension. There's no feeling like I'm the victim or like I'm being put in the role of the persecutor. It's not there. Because I've learned to overcome it. And that was hard early on because if I had an employee that was not a good employee, I would feel like they were personally attacking me. I had an employee slam the door on me once. She was my employee, and she slammed the door on me. And it was because I had said something that made her angry. And she took it personally because she was not a developed leader in my organization. Mm-hmm. And I had to just set that aside and say, that was not personal. She's angry with me. We can get through this, or we won't get through this. Mm-hmm. In which case, we both have choices to make.
Right. So it sounds to me like you got to meet the right people or pay attention. Be a little bit of a creepy peeping Tom. Just stare at Betsy. How's she doing that? Betsy will see people peering in windows now, like, wait a minute. But meet the right people as well as read. And honestly, I think that Harvard Business Review is not a bad thing that people should look.
If you're
look up.
if you're a leader, get a subscription. I know it's
Absolutely.
expensive. I think
Yeah.
it's like $25 a month, which you're like for a magazine.
But it's well worth it.
Oh, it's worth every dime of that. What you're going to learn in that publication as a leader on a monthly basis is what the best leaders in the entire world in business are doing
Okay.
that you can copy. That's the thing. You don't have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Like copy successful people.
You know, we were talking about rich, successful people and their habits, and you said this was a passion of yours, and I can tell it is.
It is.
I can feel it. I can feel it. Well, let's wrap this up. Is there any last thoughts that you want to throw out to anyone? I mean, I think we got most of it covered.
I think we did.
I think we did
You
good.
did. Thanks a lot for being on the show with me
Oh, you're welcome.
yesterday and being on the podcast. And thank you, Becky, for just your
Absolutely.
dedication to getting this work out there so that we can help more people.
Right. And obviously, as I always say, we've kind of inundated everybody with a lot of information. VirginiaFirst.com is where our Virginia at Work segment appears after it is aired, and you can look at that. You can watch the podcasts. We have links to all of Linda's work and the research she has found. So definitely pay attention to that. And if you want to be the next Betsy Head, VirginiaFirst.com will get you there. How's that? Have a
Absolutely.
good one.